Imagine someone asks you, "So, what do you do?" And suddenly, you forget every English word you know. You know your job. You know what you do every day. But when you have to explain it in English, you don't know what to say. But what if you could talk about your job naturally? In this lesson, I'll show you exactly how to do it with Simp B1 English.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about something you probably need to talk about all the time. Your job. If you're learning English at the B1 level, you should be able to answer simple questions about your work. For example, what do you do? Where do you work? What are your responsibilities? Do you like your job? What do you usually do at work? And today we're going to learn how to answer all of these questions naturally. I'll give you useful vocabulary, simple expressions, examples, and a real conversation at the end. So don't just listen. Try to repeat the sentences with me. Let's start with the most important question. Part 1. What do you do? The first question you will probably hear is, what do you do? This is a very common question, and here, what do you do? Usually means, what is your job? For example, what do you do? You can answer, I'm a graphic designer, or I'm a teacher. I'm an engineer. I'm a doctor. I'm a software developer. You can also say, I work as a graphic designer, or I work as an engineer. Both are natural. Now let's practice. What do you do? Pause the video, and answer the question. Okay, now say, I'm a boy. For example, I'm a designer. Very simple, but sometimes we want to give more information. For example, I'm a graphic designer. I work for a marketing company. Or, I'm an English teacher. I teach English to adults. This makes your answer more interesting. Part 2, where do you work? The next question is, where do you work? You can answer, I work for a company called ABC. Notice the expression, work for? We usually use work for when we talk about the company or organization we work for. For example, I work for a technology company. I work for an international company. I work for a bank. You can also say, I work at a bank. Both are common. You can also talk about the location. I work in Cairo. I work in Dubai. I work in an office. And if you work from home, I work from home. This is a very useful expression. For example, I work for a marketing company and I work from home most of the time. Or, I work for an international company but I live in Cairo. Part 3, what do you do at work? Now let's make your English more advanced. Someone might ask, what do you do at work? Or, what are your responsibilities? Don't worry. Responsibilities means the things you are expected to do as part of your job. For example, if you're a graphic designer, you can say, I design social media posts. I create presentations. I work on branding projects. I create visual content for different clients. If you're a teacher, I prepare lessons. I teach students. I create educational materials. If you're an engineer, I work on construction projects. I prepare technical drawings. I work with a team of engineers. Here is a very useful sentence. My main responsibility is to, for example, Leon, my main responsibility is to design visual content. Or, my main responsibility is to manage the design team. You can also say, one of my main responsibilities is, for example, one of my main responsibilities is communicating with clients. This is a great phrase to remember. Part 4, talk about your typical workday. Now let's talk about your daily routine at work. Someone might ask, what does a typical day at work look like? This means, what do you usually do during a normal workday? You can start with, I usually start work at 9 a.m. So then I check my emails. I attend meetings. As I work on different projects, I talk to my colleagues. And I have lunch around 1 p.m. I usually finish work at 5 p.m. And let's put everything together. For example, I usually start work at 9 a.m. First, I check my emails and respond to important messages. Then I usually have a meeting with my team. After that, I work on my projects. I normally have lunch around 1 p.m. And I finish work at 5 p.m. That's already a good B1 level answer. Notice something important. We're using simple English. You don't need complicated vocabulary to sound natural. You just need to connect your ideas. Use first, then, out. After that, Usually. Finally. These small words make your English much better. Part 5, talk about your workplace. Now let's describe your workplace. You can say, I work in a small office. I work in a large company. I work in a busy office. I work in a friendly environment. My office is modern and comfortable. You can also describe the people around you. For example, I work with a small team. I have a great team. My colleagues are very friendly. I work closely with my manager. The phrase "go work closely with" it is very useful. It means that you work together frequently. For example, I work closely with the marketing team. Or else, I work closely with my manager on different projects. Part 6. Talk about your colleagues. Let's say someone asks, what are your colleagues like? You can say, they're friendly. They're helpful. They're hardworking. They're easy to work with. Yeah, that last expression is very useful. On easy to work with. It means that working with someone is comfortable and pleasant. For example, my manager is very supportive and easy to work with. And you can also say, we have a good relationship, or we work well together. Another useful phrase is, I get along well with my colleagues. Get along with someone means you have a good relationship with that person. For example, I get along well with my team. 20 Huntuk. Part 7. Do you like your job? This is another very common question. Do you like your job? You don't always have to say, yes, I like my job. You can give a more natural answer. For example, yes, I really enjoy my job. Or, I like my job because it's creative. I enjoy working with different people. I like the environment. I like the flexibility. If you don't love your job, you can say, it's okay. It's challenging, but I enjoy it. It's sometimes stressful, but I learn a lot. This is a very natural B1 level sentence. My job can be stressful sometimes, but I enjoy it because I learn something new every day. Notice how we can talk about both the positive and negative sides. Part 8. Talk about problems at work. Let's make the conversation more realistic. Every job has problems, so you should know how to talk about them. For example, I sometimes have a lot of work. I have to work under pressure. Sometimes I have tight deadlines. OE deadline is the time when something must be finished. For example, I have a deadline tomorrow. Or, we have a tight deadline for this project. And you can also say, sometimes I have to work late. I have a lot of meetings. Some projects are very challenging. And if you want to talk about a positive challenge, my job is challenging, but it helps me improve my skills. That's a great B1 sentence. Part 9. Talk about your skills. Now let's talk about your professional skills. Someone might ask, what skills do you need for your job? You can say, I need good communication skills. I need to be organized. I need to be creative. I need to manage my time well. I need to work well under pressure. I need to work well with other people. Some useful skills include communication, teamwork, time management, problem solving, creativity, organization, leadership. You can make simple sentences with them. For example, communication is very important in my job. I need to manage my time well. Teamwork is important because I work with different people. Part 10. Talk about your career. Now let's talk about your past and future. Someone might ask, how long have you been working in this field? You can answer, I've been working in this field for 5 years. Or, I've been a teacher for 10 years. You can also talk about your career. I started my career as a junior designer. Then I became a senior designer. After that, I became a team leader. And for the future, I'd like to become a manager. I want to develop my skills. I'd like to work for an international company. I want to start my own business one day. These are very useful sentences when talking about your career goals. Part 11, a complete example. Now let's put everything together. Imagine someone asked me, well, what do you do? I could say, I'm a graphic designer. I work for an international company. I mainly work on branding, presentations, and social media content. I usually start work at 9 a.m. First, I check my emails and messages. Then I have a meeting with my team and start working on my projects. I work closely with other designers and the marketing team. Sometimes the job can be stressful because we have tight deadlines, but I really enjoy it because I like being creative and learning new things. I've been working in this field for several years, and in the future, I'd like to become an art director. See, this isn't complicated English, it's just a combination of simple sentences, and that's exactly what you should aim for at the B1 level. Part 12, Real Conversation. Now let's practice a real conversation. I'll play both people. Person A. So what do you do? Person B. I'm a graphic designer. I work for an international company. Person A. Oh, nice. What do you usually do at work? Person B. I work on different design projects. I create presentations, social media content, and branding materials. Person A. What is your typical workday like? Person B. I usually start work at 9 a.m. I check my emails, attend a few meetings, and then work on my projects. Person A. Do you work alone? Person B. Not really. I work with a small team, and I work closely with the marketing department. Person A. Do you like your job? Person B. Yes, I do. It can be stressful sometimes, especially when we have tight deadlines, but I really enjoy being creative. Person A. How long have you been doing this? Person B. Yeah, I've been working as a designer for several years. Person A. And what do you want to do in the future? Person B. I'd like to become an art director and work on bigger creative projects. Part 13. Your turn. Now it's your turn. I'm going to ask you some questions. Don't just listen. Answer out loud. Question 1. What do you do? Pause. Answer. Question 2. Where do you work? Pause. Answer. Question 3. What are your main responsibilities? Pause. Answer. Question 4. What does a typical day at work look like? Pause. Answer. Question 5. Do you like your job? Why? Pause. Answer. Question 6. What skills do you need for your job? Pause. Answer. Question 7. What are your career goals? Pause. Answer. Now let's do one final challenge. I want you to speak about your job for 1 full minute. Use these questions to help you. What do you do? Where do you work? What are your responsibilities? What does your typical day look like? Do you like your job? What is difficult about your job? What skills do you need? What do you want to do in the future? Try to connect your ideas. You can start like this. I'm a... Then. I work for... Then. My main responsibilities are... Then. I usually... Then. I enjoy my job because... And finally, in the future, I'd like to... Don't worry about making mistakes. The goal is not perfect English. The goal is to communicate your ideas clearly and confidently. And that's it for today's lesson. Today, you learned how to talk about your job, your workplace, your responsibilities, your typical workday, your colleagues, your skills, and your career goals. But remember, don't just watch this video. Now, practice. Pause the video, repeat the sentences, and most importantly, talk about your own job, because the fastest way to improve your English is to use English to talk about your real life. If you enjoyed this lesson, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep practicing, and I'll see you next time.